Hello guys, and in my today's video we'll be learning HTML. Now I was thinking to make a programming course for you guys, and we start learning a programming language, so I thought of starting with HTML. So we'll be learning HTML in this course, and this course is broken into some parts and around 3 to 4 parts, and my other videos which will be coming in the future inshallah will be all related to HTML, and we will be learning HTML together. And I've thought of making 2 chapters per video, and mostly all the videos will be of 1 hour or so please watch the course, and I hope you like it. Hello guys, so now we are in a PC, and as you can see this PDF which I have opened for you guys. So we will be using these type of notes in our whole course, and then we'll be studying. So one important thing which I want to tell you guys is that this PDF is in the description, so you can just go to the link and download it, and you can just click here and you can you can download this as a PDF. And enough talk, let's start with the whole chapter 1. So chapter 1 is an introduction, and we will just give you an intro of HTML. So the first thing you need to know of HTML is that HTML means hypertext markup language. Okay, so H stands for hyper, T stands for text, M stands for markup, and L stands for language. Okay, now HTML is not in a way a programming language, it's a markup language. Okay, as this is coming in its name too, it's a markup language. So let's read what is written. HTML is the language of the web. It is used to create website. We use HTML text to define the look of a website. Okay, so I hope this small description gave you a fair idea, but let me explain it to you. Now the HTML, it actually helps us a lot in making a website, but there is one thing: you can't make a website by just using one language. There are 3 languages used in order to make a website, a total front-end website. Okay, so I'm going to be explaining that too later. So HTML adds the text. So if I just give an example, like just take an example of this. When Google was making this, all was this Gmail, this images, this reading list, all of this is done in HTML, using HTML. Okay, so text, the images in a website, all of that is done using HTML. Okay, so keep that in your mind, that HTML adds text and all of this stuff. Okay, let's move on to the second language. Now, as I said, there are 3 languages in order to make a website. So I will be explaining all of them. One is HTML. The next one is CSS. Okay. Now there are 2 types of CSS. I think there is a CSS degree too. Don't compare it with this CSS. Now CSS means cascading style sheet. Okay, so CSS is the short form of cascading style sheet. Okay, CSS is the language used to style a blank web page. Okay, web page also means a website. Okay, CSS makes your website worth it to watch. So if you don't use HTML, for instance, in a website, you won't be able to make a website. You won't be able to make a website without HTML. And without CSS, you can make a website, but the problem is that no one will like your website. No one will even want to watch your website, because it will look very ugly. Your website would look very ugly. No fonts, no styling. Now let's take an example. This styling. Now when I'm hovering, when I'm adding my cursor over here, you can see that it's changing its background. You can see that clearly, I hope. So that's all is done using CSS. Now I can't actually just remove the CSS, but if I don't add CSS, let's try to remove the CSS from here. Okay, let's see. Most likely I won't be able to move it. I don't know Okay, so all of this, this is all CSS and stuff, especially this style one. All of this is the CSS. Now I can't actually remove all of the CSS, but this all is the style, and I just try to remove, but see, let's press backspace. No, it's doing anything. It's doing nothing. It's doing nothing. If I just delete all of this, the website would look very ugly. Like, I don't know what's the problem. But let's just not do that much. But CSS is very important. All of this will be here. There's no styling, no nothing. So that's actually the worst thing I don't like. Okay, so yes, when I was doing it earlier, it was not showing that pointer thing because I deleted some of the CSS, I think. Well, let's finish the CSS and let's go to JavaScript. Now, what is JavaScript? JavaScript is the third language, so let's read what's written. JavaScript adds logic in your website. Example: if you log into a login form, where will the credentials go? This all is decided using JavaScript. So when you use a contact form, sometimes you have to give your credentials like your email, your password, and most of time JavaScript helps take that credentials to a person. Now let's read this part, which is very important. JavaScript was first known as a front-end language. Now I know the question, what is a front-end language? Now I'll be explaining first. Let's read this. JavaScript was first known as a front-end language, but now JavaScript has so much power that you can also program back-end from it. Okay. Now here comes the question, what is front-end and what is back-end? Now let's take a simple example. Suppose I go to a shop and I ask the shopkeeper, I say I want around 5 French fries boxes. Okay, for example. So the shopkeeper goes inside the shop, he closes the door, and then from inside he's packing the fries in the in the boxes. Okay, now I'm standing outside, I don't know what he's packing, I don't know anything, and then when he comes out, he gives me the shopper. I take the shopper and I go home, and the shopper is closed. I don't know anything what's inside the shopper, but I know I asked the shopkeeper for French fries and I will get French fries. Okay, so here in this example, I am the front end. I am the front end and the shopkeeper is the back end. So I don't know what the shopkeeper has done. So from this example, you must observe something, that you can't see what the back end is doing. Okay, so back end is different, front end is different. Now front end is, in simple words, also something which gives a visual effect on a website. Now as I said, using HTML you can actually using HTML you can do something like add text. If I change the text, obviously the people who are viewing my website, they will see the change of the text. Obviously they will. If I use CSS, I change that round button, I say let's make a square button, then I say no, let's make a rectangle button, suppose. So all that would be visual effect. JavaScript, let's take an example of, let me search something. Now I want to use Wikipedia for it. Yes, I can see Wikipedia here. I want to take an example from Wikipedia. So let's click. So it's loading. I don't know what's loading. Okay, it's loading slowly. I don't know. Yes, now you can see most of the thing over here. Now you can, as you can see here in the Wikipedia, as you can see that these links over here. Now sometimes when you actually hover on something, you're seeing this description over here. about the Marathas. They're saying what are the Marathas and all this stuff. But this all is done using JavaScript. Okay, so the JavaScript gave logic to this web page, that when the user hovers here, we should give a description. Okay, now even if I remove the JavaScript, I remove the line of code which is saying that when I hover on it, remove the description. Okay, for example, will there be a visual effect? Obviously there will be a visual effect. Why? Because there is no visual. Now I can't see anything here. So, and when in the early, when I was hovering, I can see like here. So that's the problem of that front end adds a visual effect. Now as I said, JavaScript has so much power that you can also program backend from it. So a backend can be something like the example I gave over here, which is if you log into a form, where will the credentials go? This all is decided using JavaScript. Now the user who is giving his credentials, he doesn't know in which email it's going. He doesn't care. He doesn't know. He doesn't know anything. He just knows that this will go to Microsoft, this will go to Apple, this will go anywhere. But to the person who's working in Apple, obviously, or Microsoft, whatever, but the login form doesn't show that this is going to this email. So even if I go to a website, suppose I go to a website like youtube.com, for example, I would be doing one small trick, and like this. So there's something like inspect and stuff like that. So if you just look at this, you can see all of this code, and isn't that scary? But if I do something like I just change this text, I just change it to width for example, it's changing to width, but that's only for me. If I just refresh it, this will go normal to video, and okay, you can see it's now your videos. So all of this code which is showing me, all of this is the front end code, not the back end. Now why isn't it showing me the back end code? Now let me tell you guys, the back end code is very, very, very serious and very critical. For example, if I just say I just inspect and it's telling me where it's going, I can mail things to him or her, whoever email it's going to. Isn't that scary? I mean, emails are just blown outside, and everyone knows each other's email or each other's email and stuff. So isn't that scary in a way? So yeah, that's the problem. So that's why you can't see the backend code, and yep, that's all you need to know. So we got to know what is front end, we got to know what is back end, all of that stuff. Now let me show you the logo of this. So this is HTML5. The latest version of HTML is HTML5. This is CSS. The latest version is CSS3. Now this is JavaScript, and JavaScript, the logo is like this. Now when you're writing a code, you need to have a code editor. Okay, and what code editor I use? I love VS Code. Now VS Code is one of my favorite, and it's also one of the top code editors out there. Now you can also make a website using Notepad too. I'm going to show you that. But VS Code has some very cool features which not all of them have one. Even if they have, you need to install that special feature from online or somewhere else. So all you have to do is just search VS Code install. Okay, it will take you somewhere over here, and yeah, it's just loading. So it will take you to an interface just like this. And the good thing I like about this is that this is made by Microsoft, and if that's actually the good thing I like about it. So just choose your operating system and then install it. I have Visual Studio Code for now, so I'm not going to do anything. So let's read a bit of this. We will now be installing a code editor known as VS Code. This is one of my favorite code editors. Why? You will know soon. So now go to Google and search VS Code install, and then we'll install VS Code together. Now, very sorry guys, I've actually installed it earlier, so that's why I'm not installing it again. So they'll just choose, your computer like 32-bit, 64-bit or something. Now, I don't know why it's showing Windows 7 here, but I was, learning somewhere, I was reading somewhere that they are not now supporting Windows 7. I don't know, they maybe forgot to edit their website, but they are not maybe using Windows 7 now. So if you have Windows 7, you can Google more code editors, but I would recommend you to update to Windows 10 as quickly as possible. Even Windows 11 is about to come, so just quickly upgrade to Windows 10, and it's very easy, guys. You just have to go to Google and search. So you just have to search how to upgrade to Windows 10, and yep, there are many free upgrade for how to upgrade Windows 7 to Windows 10 for free. Look, so many videos, and there are 1,000 videos out there. So just try to watch them. Now we're done with chapter 1 introduction, and I'm very excited, and we are done with chapter 1 now. Let me tell you one thing, that after every chapter I've prepared a practice set for you guys, and in their practice set we will be doing a bit of practice for you guys, and I will be explain what I've explained today in this chapter. All of that will be covered in that practice set, and I'm hoping that all of you do the chapter sets. The chapter 1, now we are here in chapter 1 practice set. So guys, I've just given a link in the description of this form which I created for you guys. So all of the questions are related to what I did in my chapter 1. Now there is one last question which is something which I've not discussed, and I just wanted you guys to just think of what the answer will be, and then you'll know what is the correct answer. So just I hope you like this, and this link is given in description, so don't just pause the video and type this whole thing. No, the link is in the description, so don't just worry. Now we're done with chapter 1 practice set. Now in the other chapters and in the other chapters practice set, we won't be using forms, as we did not much in the chapter 1, so that's why I didn't make a very detailed course and something like a detailed practice set. But in the chapter 2, from chapter 2 we will be doing more professional things, and we will be writing a first line of code. So bye guys, and I'll meet you in chapter number 2. Okay guys, so now we are here in chapter number 2, and I'm so excited that we are now going to be creating our very first website. Chapter 2, creating our first website. So not a professional website, but a good one, I mean like a normal website. So this is our chapter number 2 PDF, and obviously the link to the description, so just go and download it from there. Okay, so let's start with the chapter number 2 without wasting any time. So let's read what's written here. So we start building a website by choosing a special name for the .html file. So when you actually open uh, a code editor, you have to make a file in which you actually write your code, and that's by suppose whatever name .html file. Okay, not you don't have to write file, but just .html after that. The most common one mostly people use is index.html. Now index.html is something like if you just just copy that IP address which is given. I will tell you what is the IP address, then it actually refreshes it again, and it can show you, I don't know things like that. But actually you can make any type of thing, because in order to actually run a website and take it to other and make it public, so that other people can see, you have to buy a domain. I don't know what this index.html thing is, but we will be using index.html in our courses. Okay, well, this is up to you what type of name you want to give to your ht.html file. Okay, now let's before that I have to tell you something. Now we're going to be starting to make a basic HTML page, and these are some of the HTML tags which we will be starting from now. Now, for that, I hope you have installed the VS Code. Now I'm going to just click and make a new folder here. I'm going to name it as okay. I think this is giving issue. Let's just name it to okay, HTML course code. Let's open it. Now, guys, there's one trick which I want to tell you guys. Okay, the trick is, guys, that the VS Code application, as you can see over here, the Visual Studio Code, you can directly open it from here. The problem is this. Now, if I just directly open it, what will happen? It will you just make a file and do something like that. But you want it to save the file at some special destination, suppose at your desktop or something. So the good thing is that you make a folder and then right click on it and click on open with Word. So what it does is that whatever image you want to add, whatever video you want to add, you can just copy it there in the folder, and then boom. And I'm just going to show something to you over here. Let's just wait for it to load. And if sometimes it takes a lot of time, especially if you open it after a very long time. So till the time it's loading, let me tell you. So you can copy images over here, and then it will do things like that. Okay, so this is showing a welcome screen. I don't know why it's so big. Let me. Okay, now this is very good. Let's just close it. Okay, let's close this welcome thing. Now you can see chapter 2 over here and whatever. So now we have to create a file. So I'm going to just click on file, index.html file. I made an index.html file. Okay, as you can see clearly, index.html file. Let's zoom it. Now there is one thing in HTML, guys, which is known as HTML boilerplate. So what is HTML boilerplate? So guys, HTML boilerplate actually includes many things like this thing, all of that. So it's very big. Now these two are something which we have to add by your own. But let's just Google a bit about HTML boilerplate. HTML boilerplate. Okay. So this means so what is, so during this course I will be using Google a lot, because in order to explain it's very good. In computer programming, boilerplate code or just boilerplate are sections of code that are repeated in multiple places with little to no variation. When using languages that are considered verbose, the programmer must write a lot of code to accomplish only minor functionality. Such code is called boilerplate. Okay, so I hope you understood it, but obviously I have to tell you again. How do I create an HTML boilerplate? I don't want to take any of this, but HTML boilerplate is something which is very, very important, and without an HTML boilerplate you can't even make a website. So what is an HTML boilerplate? Now here comes another thing. The reason I use Visual Studio Code is because of this thing. So I just add an exclamation mark, and it's saying something like emmet abbreviation and all of this stuff. If I just press enter, look at this. Now this, guys, is the HTML boilerplate. And guys, look at this. In just a second, it had everything for me. Now let's compare this to this. So it has the doc type HTML. This has the doc type HTML. Then it has HTML. Now this does has HTML, but to specify it more, that the language you're using is English, that they've wrote something like this. Then the head, and then head and meta charts. Now this thing is not here because these are something which I will tell you in our other chapters, and they are a bit, professional something, and they consider their things like SEO and something. Now all of this is mostly the same except this. Okay, now let's learn about these tags. So let me just close this. Okay, so what is the doc type HTML tag? So this specifies this is an HTML5 doc. Okay, so HTML5 is the thing which we are learning, the latest HTML version. So this actually tells that it specifies that this is an HTML5 doc. HTML means root of an HTML page. Okay, that contains page metadata. Now what is the metadata? So all of this meta tags over here, it contains the metadata, and in the metadata we have the title tag too, which is actually the thing which contains the title. Now what is a title? I'll actually show it to you in practical thing, but let me tell you this thing which you can see, or even if you go to let's go to Scratch, for instance, you can see this Scratch Imagine program share. This thing is actually the title, and we can write it in the title tag. Okay, so we have the title tag over here. It's defaultly it's showing document, but we don't want document, we will change it. This is the HTML, the head closing tag. So when a tag starts, it also has to close. Just like here, the title tag starts and it also has to close. Now there is actually no difference, but only thing is that you have to add a slash in front. Okay, this thing, then the slash and the title, and then the closing tag thing. Okay, so I'll just do to explain. Here comes the body, the main body of a website page. So this is the body, and most of the things which you do are done using the body. Okay, so using body, you actually do most of the stuff. You add the text and all of that stuff. Now here comes some more tags. H1, the H1 tags are heading tags used to add a heading. So if you want to add a heading, you use the H1 tag. Now guys, I know this might sound a bit confusing, but I will do this in practical things so that you understand. So don't think I'm just going to end the chapter like this. No, nothing like that. And just like that, H1 starts and H1 tag ends. Now another thing I want to tell you is that H1 goes from H1, H2, H3, H4, H5 and H6. So there are 6 in a way tags, and there are 6 tags, H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, 6, yeah, 6 tags, that 6 H tags, and all of them go from big to small. I'll tell you that when we do in practical thing. Now the P tag is the paragraph tag. Paragraph tag used to add a paragraph. So P starts, P ends. Okay, now this is the body closing tag, and as we saw here, the body closing tag, and then the last one, the HTML closing tag. Now let's do this all in practical learning, that will make you understand it more. Now let's first install something, and guys, you have to just go to here to extensions, and you have to just search something like live server. Okay, yes, something like this. Now guys, Live server is something which shows you a preview of your website. So obviously I'm going to make a website, but I also want to preview what my website looks like. So as I've installed it, saying to uninstall or do something else, but you have to just click on uh, install, and then uh, it will just install that in your VS Code. Okay, now I'm going to just, in order to see this, I'm going to just right click to click on open with live server, and then the default browser, it will show you in the default browser. You can see the document dash. Now the IP address which I was saying, this is the IP address, and if I just control C and then I just paste it, it's showing it because of index.html. But actually if you give it to a friend of yours or something, you say okay, just google this, and then you will come to my website. No, you have to buy a domain in order to make it public, and you have to most likely pay. There are some free domains out there. Now let's first look at the title tag. So the title tag is here, and I can name it anything as I want. So for me, I'm going to name it as my website. Okay, now I'm going to name this as my website. If I go to my website, why is it still showing document? Oh, I forgot to refresh. If I refresh, still it's not showing. Now if something happens like this, you must know that you might have done a problem, not in your code, but here. As you can see, I've not saved it yet. If I save it, and if I go to my Google, you can see clearly that it has changed to my website. Okay, so make sure guys, you save your work as you go on, because sometimes you don't save and you think your computer has gone mad or something, but actually it's your fault and you haven't saved it. So things like this happen a lot. I know we are humans, we make mistakes, but we should learn from our mistake too. And the live server helps us, in the second it actually change the text or something, so I don't have to refresh again and again, because that's the reason we got live server. Now in notepad and something, you actually have to refresh the whole browser and stuff, and that's actually quite not good. I mean, let's go to a chapter 2, the PDF. Okay, so the next tag is the H1 tag, and as I told you, they are tagged from H1 to H6, and they go smaller and smaller. But now this tag should be written in the body. Now in the body, I'm going to just write H1, and you can see emit abbreviation and something like this. If I press enter, look at this, how easily it has added. That's the reason why I use Visual Studio Code, because it has emit. Now I can write anything like here. So I wrote this is a heading over here. I'm going to just copy this, Control C. I'm going to just go press enter to do H2, Control V. But now you would see I actually directly went to the next line without even using my mouse. It's because if you press Control Enter, it actually takes you to the next line. Even if I'm here, it will take you to the next line if I press Control. And I'm going to add an H3 and Control V. So the emit is helping me a lot in this stuff, and I just have to do nothing, and this is actually quite cool, guys. I mean, emit is saving our time. I mean, a lot of time. So, and if you use notepad, there's nothing like this. As I pressed exclamation mark, this whole boilerplate came for me. So amazing, guys. So that's why I like VS Code, and that's why you would also like VS Code. Now we're done with till H6. Now let's just save our work and let's go to Google. And here you can see, guys, this is a heading, this is a heading, this is a heading, and this is the biggest one, the H1 tag. This is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth, then this is the fifth, and this is the sixth, the last one. So if I add suppose an H7, for instance, if I add an S7, even emit is not, when I press H, it's showing me so many things. But if I press 7, there is nothing showing over me here, and Emmet shows everything. So that means your code is does not even exist, and there is some problem in your code. Okay, so that's actually the issue which you guys might have. So you now know that this is how the heading looks like. So we looked at the h1 tags. Make sure you now understood the h1 and the h tags in a way. Okay, because h1 is just one thing. We have h2, h3, and 4, h5, and h6 too. The next tag which we're looking at is the p tag. The p tag is the paragraph tag used to add a paragraph. So if you want to add a paragraph, for instance, I'm going to just write p, and you can see this Emmet abbreviation which is showing me here. Just press enter, and here you go. We have the p tag automatically by Emmet. Now, guys, the one thing which I want to tell you guys is that a very simple trick is that if I write lorem 90, suppose, or just let's change it to 50, and if I press enter, it's showing Emmet abbreviation. I'm just pressing enter, so it gave me some text. As you can see all of this text, I'm going to just go to the command palette. I'm going to just go and search toggle word wrap. Yes, now it's looking good. I don't want to just have a horizontal thing. So this gave me words by itself. So especially guys, when you're making a website, especially when you're making a website and you're learning, especially, so this thing helps me a lot. This thing helps me so much, because all the time you don't have to write just like blah 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 or something like that, but this helps me a lot. And the reason I'm saying lorem 90, that 50, is it gave me 50 words. If I say lorem multiply by 2, so it's going to give me 2 paragraphs. Okay, so if you use the multiply thing and write something else, it's showing me 2 paragraphs. Okay, as you can see over here, it's showing me 2 paragraphs, and I don't know what language this actually is, but trust me guys, this is literally insane, and I like it because it's very good. Let's just go for lorem 90 for now, and here we go. We have some text. So with the main text covered, we have looked at the p tag, the heading tag, the h1 tag, and the title tag. I mean, in a way, we looked at all of these tags, and now you know how this actually works. Now let's go down, and a small idea shown so that you know how a website works. So from the HTML document, it goes right through your browser, and from your browser, it goes to the render page, which is actually the website. Now, here let's look at something which is comments in HTML. So what are comments in HTML? So let's look at that. Comments in HTML are used to mark text which should not be rendered in a web page. So the reason I gave it to you is that the HTML document, the HTML code, that goes to the browser and then it goes to the render page. But there are sometimes something which you don't want to render. Okay, for example, so rendered in a web page. So they help us document the source code. For example, maybe sometimes you might need to write some notes related to the website or something. You can use the comments in HTML. So how to add comments? Now suppose I want to write something. Now I wanted to make a website. I say okay till now. Let's add something here. I say over here that I say start of website. Now if I just save this might render to my web page. What is the start of website? So I don't want this. I just want to say to myself, I don't want it to go public. So what I'm going to do is I turned it into a comment. But how did I do it? Let me just control C. There is one thing like a shortcut. Just press control, or first go inside your text, press control and the // and here you go. It actually commented out. Now if I see there is nothing, no start of website or something. So this is actually very good. Here I might want to add, end of website, and then I press control slash, and here you go. Now I can add comments, especially when you're making a website, with 1,000 lines and things like that. You would need them a lot. You say, okay, the color of the background should be this and this and this, and you write some important notes which your client, for whom you're making the website, he says, okay, make a website like this and that and things and that, and you can just write it in the comments which we look here. Now let's go to chapter 2 PDF again, and let's read that last thing, and that's HTML. Okay, sorry, the case sensitivity. The HTML is a case insensitive language. Sorry, H1 is equals to H1. Now you can see that here there is a capital H, and 1 is equals to H1, and if there is a small thing, there is no issue, everything will go right. So let's see if there's actually right. Oh, let's press enter. Let's go, and let me write. As we looked at H1, let's check the capital one. Now I write capital H1. Okay, look at this. And if I say this is a heading, for example, here you go, this is a heading. So H1, the capital 1, is equals to H1, this one. Now I would actually recommend you to use this H1, because that's what the nice thing would be. Just to tell you that the HTML is a case insensitive language. That's why I just wanted to let you know that. But I would recommend you using this H1, because this is the right thing. So that's it of the whole video, guys. I mean, not the whole video, but of the chapter number 2. I hope you like the chapter number 2, and I had fun too, guys, in chapter number 2. So in chapter number 2, we have started coding, we have started doing practical learning over here. So that's it for chapter number 2, guys. Let's move on to chapter number 2, practice set, and I hope you will be with me. Okay, guys, so here we are with chapter number 2, practice set. Sorry for this, guys. I'm just very lazy and very tired sometimes, and I don't know what I'm actually typing, so I accidentally wrote chapter 1 practice set. But please don't confuse it, it's chapter 2 practice set. Okay, I know what type of comments I will get, but very sorry for that, guys. But let's just move on and leave a mistake. So what chapter number 2 practice set, we have the number 1 thing: inspect your favorite website and change something which is displayed. So we'll do this together. This second one, I will try to explain something to you. Sorry, this one I will try to explain something to you, and this one I would like you to do by yourself. It's saying, go to your favorite website and try to view the page source and write that exact line. Of course, now how to view a page source? Let's just go to youtube.com, for example, and here I'm going to just right click. I'm just going to right click over here and click on view page source, and this will show you the page source over here. So this is all the page source. Now I would like you to go to a website which has some less thing or anything like that. Like we can go to anything, it's literally up to you. But let me tell you, it won't clone your website and write that exact line of code. Maybe it won't, maybe it will, but this is not showing all the styling and stuff. So you can also skip this if you want. Okay, I would like you to skip this too. If you want to do it, you're more than welcome. So we will do one together. So I'll just go to a website known as getboosted.com, and I don't know, I just know about this website a bit, so let's just change a bit. So in order to choose something, I mean there are many things, and you can't just move here and see, oh, where's this text or something. You can just choose here, and you just click on here, and here you go, you got this, and you can see it's written in the h1 tag which we just had a look. So now let me write anything. Okay, I wrote fun ventures for example. I'm going to change this to, okay, I'm going to just change it to, I just wrote I am a hacker. Okay, so this all is just for me. If I just reload it, look at this, we are not hackers, we are fake hackers who don't know how to hack. So this is all guys, we are done with anyway the first thing. Second, we'll not do, let's do the third one, which I'm very excited about. Write any HTML code inside a text file. Does it work if you write it using Notepad? Now first what I'm going to do is I'm going to Google something like now. Actually, if you're a coder, you should know in a way the you should know the what do you call it, this, the boilerplate. You should know this. I don't know whatever boilerplate this is. I don't want this, I'll just go to some other thing. Let's go here. So you should know, actually, it's okay if you don't know, but I don't want to learn it, because you can just Google and do things like that. It's just Control C. Now here comes the thing, let's go to Notepad. So I just open Notepad. Here you go, we have Notepad. So I just pasted this. Okay, so obviously things look different over here. So let's just change the title to website and Notepad, and now let's control S it, and let's save it as so. Remember, when you're making a website using Notepad, write your name, I mean the name you want, and then .html and click save. Okay, now if we go to our desktop, let's press enter, and look at this, we are making a website using Notepad. Now in order for a reader view something like with the source code and stuff, let's open Notepad too, and okay, let's see some space. Okay, so we have things like this. Let's press tab. Let's see what we actually want to write, some lines of course. So let's write something. Now one more thing which I want to tell you is that if I press enter, no, there is nothing like that. If I just go here and press Control Enter, look, it's not doing, because all of this is done using our Visual Studio Code. So that's why Notepad is not good. Even if I press exclamation mark and enter, this is not working. Why? Because we don't have emit. And what is emit? I'll just Google it for you over here later. So we have to write the whole tag. Okay, so we wrote the h1 tag. Let's write something over here. Okay, so we wrote this is a heading, and if we save it, we can't see anything, but if we refresh, now we can see this is a heading. So we don't have any live server thing over here. Don't have any live server thing over here. So I wrote this is a paragraph, and boom, this is a paragraph. So you can literally do all sorts of stuff you want to do, and that's quite cool. And you can do many more things like this. I'll just go, don't see, I'll just delete this file, I don't want this. And okay, so I'll go to Google now. So I wanted to show Emmet for you. So this is actually Emmet, and this is all type. So Emmet is a static plugin that allows for higher speed coding and editing in HTML. How do you use Emmet, and how do I enable HTML and HTML, and there are many more things like this. As you can see here, people also search for, you have Notepad++. Now Notepad++ is something which is a notepad designed for coding, and you can also add Emmet in it. Like if I search if I say how to add Emmet in Notepad++, you can do it, but the problem is you have to actually install and do stuff. But when I have it built in VS Code, there is no issue. So that's it of the chapter 2, and maybe the whole video too. So we covered 2 chapters in this whole video, and in our next video, which is coming next week, we will continue from chapter number 3. Till then guys, take care and bye.